Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
One of the iconic MCs of audience participation shows and an amazing performer and a delightful man, Art Linkletter, in an episode of his audience participation show, People Are Funny. This was originally broadcast on May 10th, 1955.
Have you ever seen a bull in a china shop?
There's no bull tonight, but something just as bad. A human, because this is...
People Are Funny.
Yes, transcribed from Hollywood, John Goodell's production of People Are Funny, brought to you by New Prom, the self-neutralizing home permanent, just made for the new longer hairstyles, and new Viv lipstick. Comfortable, long-lasting, and very, very vivid. And now, here's America's top master of ceremonies, Art Linkletter.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to attack one of America's most famous institutions tonight. We are going to prove that shoppers are funny. And you don't have to go very far to prove that. The nearest bargain basement will amply demonstrate the funny things that can happen when two ladies get their eye on the same object at the same time and grab it, and each one wants it. Let's see what happens. I asked for shoppers to come out of our audience, so let's get the two ladies out here and find out something about them and tell them what their job is tonight. You are
Mrs. Peter Thomas.
From?
Cornwalls Heights, Pennsylvania.
Now, what makes you think you're a good shopper, Mrs. Thomas?
Well, I have 7 people to shop for, and I have 5 sons that require a lot of clothing.
5 sons?
I'm always looking for bargains, yes, sir, and I have a granddaughter.
Uh-huh.
When I see a bargain, I just go after it.
And you grab it?
Yes, sir.
Sally, you're a good gal, and I bet you have a nice family. Now, your name is?
Dorothy Kay, originally from New York, but now living in Gardena.
All right, what kind of a shopper are you?
Well, I'm a bargain hunter also.
Do you have a family to shop for?
Brother and sister.
You're not married?
No.
Oh, a single girl and a married girl. This ought to be pretty good. Do you shop by yourself?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. How long do you go at one time? 4 or 5 hours?
Oh, sometimes around that. Yeah. Maybe longer.
Yeah. Well, now, ladies, the idea of the stunt tonight is that when you are out shopping and you see something, there's only one of its kind in the store, and you grab it. Has this ever happened to you?
Yes, it has.
And another lady grabbed it at the same
yes.
time? What'd you do?
Well, I try to yank it off.
Try to yank it out of her hands?
Yes.
Did you ever do this?
Yes.
We got just the right types here. Tonight, we are going to find out what happens to the clerk and the manager of a store when this occurs between two ladies that he does not know are coming to his store. Now, we're going to send you up to a busy Chinaware department of a store near Hollywood and Vine, and on the counters, our shopper this afternoon located a vase, a beautiful vase, well, it's a pot. And it's about like this one, and it'll be sitting there, and we want you both to come up. Irv Atkins will point out which one it is, and both of you grab it at the same time. When you two ladies are wrestling back and forth for it, we want you both to drop it and let it smash on the floor. Now, when the clerk is there, you know, already trying to arbitrate between the two of you, what do you think? What are you going to do? What are you going to say?
Well, I didn't do it.
What are you going to say?
Well, I say, she's got it, let her pay for it. She tried to grab it and she broke it and let her pay for it.
I wonder what the clerk will do. Now see, we got the clerk tested in 2 ways. First of all, you're both wrestling, and he must decide which one of the two of you might get it. When you drop it, he must decide which one of the two of you must pay for it. Now, do you have enough money in your purse? Do you, the vase up there is about $12. Do you have $6?
Yes, I do.
Do you have as much as $6?
Yes.
Well, then I'll tell you, after you've argued a while, no matter what happens, chip in, each pay half. When you come back, we'll reimburse you. Okay?
All right.
But don't tell them you're from this show, because we want to see what happens and what the manager is going to do. So, ladies, have fun. On your way, you'll pick up your purses right backstage. Goodbye. You know, this is kind of an intriguing stunt to me. Of course, naturally, no matter how much excitement there is in the store, when they pay for the vase, it'll, all be cleared up and the manager will be happy again. But what would happen if while they were out here talking to me and left their purses backstage, if somebody got into their purses and took all the money away, and when they get up there, they won't have a cent? That's what happened. Wait till we see at the end of the program how they're going to get out of that one.
Oh boy, May 10th, 1955. People Are Funny on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Art Linkletter, very active in the 50s and 60s. This show, People Are Funny, ran from 1951 to 1960 on both NBC and CBS. Also, his House Party show was a fixture of daytime television for much of the early 60s. Art's still active in his 90s, doing radio and endorsements and all that sort of stuff. Let's get back to People Are Funny, May 10th, 1955, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Ever carve your initials on the trunk of a tree inside of a heart with the initials of your best sweetheart? These initials were carved on this tree about 10 years ago, and I'd like to have you meet the girl who belongs to half of them. Would you come out, Betty Striley, please? Very pretty blonde girl. And Betty, of course, you know why you're here tonight on People Are Funny, don't you?
Well, I think I do.
How long has it been since those initials were put on this tree by
10 years ago.
by a sweetheart?
An old sweetheart, yes.
And you haven't seen him ever since then?
No, I haven't.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about him. How did you meet him?
Well, where we first met was in an office building where I used to work. Somehow I got my phone number.
And the two of you became sweethearts.
That's right.
And during the 3 months that the two of you went together, he got pretty serious, didn't he?
Well, at first he wasn't real serious because he always talked about having a goal in life.
A career.
And so as we went together a little bit longer, why he felt that I wouldn't hurt his career. In fact, I would help his career if we'd get married.
Uh-huh. But by then, you decided to have a career of your own, didn't you?
That's right. My career now is a manager. I'm a manager of a dress shop in Lakewood called Judy's.
Uh-huh, and you're married.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is just a brief background of Betty Striley and a very interesting love affair that occurred about 10 years ago. In fact, she has permitted me to read a couple of excerpts that this young man wrote to her 10 years ago, and let me get you a little idea of this torrid romance. You don't mind, do you?
Now, wait a minute.
I'll take the right ones.
You better.
Well, of course, he tells about how he met you.
You're not supposed to have those letters.
He says, I was browsing around downtown Los Angeles waiting to have my pocket picked, and I approached a rather striking young girl. And, ladies, she was the bee's knees. She was dressed in a skunk-dyed sable and had a sable-dyed skunk, and altogether resembled a yacht of the Defender class. My faith in bachelorhood was coming to a speedy end, and I loved it. It was the beginning of suffering for me. I lost my weight, my sleep, my appetite, and finally my reason. I was nuts about her. Anyhow, he wrote some very lovely and passionate letters, and he wrote some beautiful poetry, and the two of you had a blazing romance that lasted for about 3 months. Now, here is the interesting part. We are going to see what happens when a man is confronted by one of his old sweethearts that he has not thought of for 10 years.
Oh, this should be great.
His name is Mr. Steve Ross, and believe me, it took all of our operatives about 3 months to find him. We trailed him all over Los Angeles, and we have him hidden on the premises with his wife.
Why? Can she hear this?
She can't hear any of this. As a matter of fact, what we want to do tonight is to see what happens when old flames are reunited in the presence of new flames. Are you in it with us?
Well, I don't know.
Where's your husband?
He's out in the audience.
Well, let's just keep the barriers up. Now, you go back in through that screen door and back of that curtain where you can hear everything, but you can't be seen. All right, boys, bring them in. And, by the way, this proves that people are funny in another way. We found this couple practically by telephoning them and inviting them to come down to People Are Funny. Now, they have no idea what the stunt is for, why they were picked, or what's going to happen, but they came down, and people will always do that. Hello, Mrs. Ross. If you'll just walk right over there, and Mr. Ross, if you'll come in here. My, you're a fine-looking fellow, Mr. Ross.
Thank you,
And blonde, about 6'5", 11?
About 5'11" is right.
How long have you folks been married, Mrs. Ross?
About 6.5 years.
And how long did you go together before you were married, Mr. Ross?
About 3 weeks, Art. My mother doesn't know that. She thinks it's 3 months.
Well, you're a rather fast worker, aren't you? Well, the reason we invited you down, by the way, I want to ask you, do you have any idea why you're here?
No, none whatsoever, Art.
How did we contact you, Mr. Ross?
Over the telephone?
Well, the reason we invited you down is because you were selected, after a little research, as a couple who are very happily married and in love, and we want to talk a little about romance and love as it occurs in the average family. Do you have some children?
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm.
How many children?
3, Art.
3 children. Now, speaking of love, do you believe in love at first sight?
Most definitely. Mm-hmm.
Did you fall in love with her?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Do you believe that there can only be one real love in a person's life?
Yes.
You do. Uh-huh. How do you feel about this, Mrs. Ross?
Well, it's hard to say.
You believe there can only be one love in a person's life?
I believe so.
Uh-huh. Did he write you any letters or any sweet notes before you were finally married? Huh?
Yes.
He did, huh? Did you?
Well, yeah, a few. No. A few.
You know, she's liable to keep these and hold them against you someday, huh?
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. Well, it probably wouldn't happen with your wife and all. But now, Mr. Ross, we're going to ask your wife a couple of questions.
Uh-huh.
And we'd like to have you off stage because I'm going to divide it up a little. Is that all right with you?
Okay.
Uh-huh. One other thing before you do go. Did you propose romantically? Did it happen all at once?
I think, well, it was one of those things I think I told on our first date out.
That you were going to marry her?
Mm-hmm.
You knew right away. She was the one girl in the world for you. Thank you very much. Just go right back there, Mr. Ross. Now, you come over here, Mrs. Ross. I want to be very frank and honest with you. You heard what he said about you being his real love in life, mm-hmm. His first big love.
I better be.
Huh?
I better be.
Well, I'm sure you are, but you know how men talk. Do you believe everything a man tells you?
Not always.
Uh-huh. Well, it's very interesting. Are you jealous at all?
Well, yes, I'm a little bit.
You're a little jealous. Does your husband, when he talks about pretty girls, does he always say nice things about blondes, or does he ever mention brunettes?
Usually it's blonde.
Usually it's blondes, uh-huh. Well, now, speaking of blondes, I'd like to have you meet a blonde girl who happens to be here tonight. Betty Straley, would you come out, please? Just come right out here, please. Mm-hmm. This is Betty Straley. This is Mrs. Steve Ross.
How do you do?
Want to shake hands?
Hi.
Now, Mrs. Ross, I don't really know quite how to put this, but you two girls have something in common. Do you have any idea what it is?
Beginning to think.
It's your husband.
Uh-huh.
Now, actually, you really don't have anything in common right now. But, Betty, would you tell Mrs. Ross why you're here tonight, why we invited you to come down? Because you knew Steve?
Yes, because I knew Steve 10 years ago.
10 years ago. And at that time, Steve was in love with her. I wonder what he's got against brunettes. I thought it'd be kind of interesting to meet an old flame of your husband. Did he ever tell you about her?
No.
Never mentioned.
I've seen pictures of some, but...
You've seen one?
Pictures of some.
But never her.
No.
I was wondering, if you had any questions you'd like to ask. You know, when you meet an old flame of your husband's, if you ever, any questions at all? Does your husband take you out dancing all the time, for instance?
No, he hasn't taken me out for a long time, as a matter of fact.
What did he used to think about dancing?
Well, I never went dancing with him.
Oh, he's not the dancing type. Well, now, of course, he thought that this was going to be the girl he was going to marry, but he married you, and I know you've made him very happy, but we're going to have a little fun with him, all right?
Good.
Good. It's all right with you, huh? Let's really see if we can catch this husband up, huh? All right, you go on back in there once again. You're going in and out of that door. We should have had a revolving door put on there. All right, now you move over, and we're going to send in Steve Ross. Probably a very good husband, isn't he? He better be. And now the curtain goes up on our next little drama off Times Square. I feel like a villain tonight. Well, Steve, we're learning more and more about you, boy. You don't like the what?
The way she's laughing.
Well, there isn't a great deal of mirth in it. But your wife and I were discussing your compliments that you've paid her from time to time. Have you ever called her the bee's knees?
Yeah, I think I may have.
Did you ever... Did you ever say that she looked like a yacht in the Defender class?
To my wife.
Yes, to your wife. Did you ever say that when you put your arm around her, you felt as guilty as a bartender with a wet mustache?
I seem to recall something like that, Art.
You did say those things, huh? You may have said them, but you don't recall whether you said them to your wife.
Well, I'm hoping that I did at the moment.
Did he say any of those things to you?
No.
No, he didn't. Can you remember any of your former sweethearts at all?
Well, I remember some.
I just wondered whether you remember, the name Betty ever strike a familiar note to you, Betty?
Well, I knew several Bettys. Betty who?
No, just Betty. Do you remember a drive up to Malibu?
Well, I drove to Malibu with my wife, Peggy.
No, you haven't.
Steve, I don't want to be naggy, but you apparently have your wife mixed up with several other women. Let's all leave for Reno right now. Betty. Betty. I would like to have you meet the bee's knees.
This is my wife.
Look look like a man who was just caught with his hand in the till. I'd like to have you meet an old friend of ours, Miss Betty Striley.
Hi, Betty.
You're very formal.
Well, I don't have much choice. Now.
You do remember her, don't you?
Yeah.
Been about 10 years?
Why didn't you ever tell me about her?
Yeah, why didn't you ever tell your wife about her?
That's when you missed.
Well,
May 10th, 1955. People Are Funny with Art Linkletter on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion follows these words from your favorite station. For a very long time, you've heard me talk about MyPillow. And of course, the MyPillow products are fascinating. My Slippers, which are on special right now. All of the sheets and the pillows and the pillowcases and all the wonderful things. But did you know that American entrepreneurs have gotten together with Mike Lindell to form My Store? A whole line of products made by American entrepreneurs, including health products, garden and patio, food and drink. If you're a coffee drinker, check out some of the coffees they have there. Beauty, bath products, personal care, things for your pets. Check out mystore.com. That is mystore.com. And of course, when you use my promo code, which is Wyatt, that's WYATT, you can save yourself a good bit of money on anything there. Check out mystore.com, promo code Wyatt. By the way, the producer of People Are Funny was John Goodell, and you know John Goodell also produced another very important program, You Bet Your Life with Groucho Marx. Now the conclusion of People Are Funny, May 10th, 1955 on Classic Radio Theater.
You know, I don't, you've been jealous about my old girlfriend, so I figure what she doesn't know doesn't hurt her.
Nor are you, that's right. Well, Steve, you're a good man. Believe me, to get two beautiful blondes like this attracted to you. And, of course, poor Betty, when the two of you broke up, she just was heartbroken. You ran away and left her, you remember?
Yeah. I probably did. I'm just saying.
No, Betty wanted to have a career of her own, poor thing. She's did she ever marry, do you suppose?
I don't know. I don't think she wasn't married when I was going with her.
Well, that's nice. I'm glad to hear that. That is one thing in your favor, I'll say. Betty, you did marry?
Donald Gurley.
Donald Gurley, and you've been married how long?
9 years.
9 years. So you see, a year after you two broke up, she married, and 3 years after you broke up, you two married. And this is Mrs. Gurley, Mr. Ross. You want to shake hands?
Hi, Betty.
Now, I thought that what we do... I could blackmail you, boy, for years.
They're doing it.
I would never have to work again in my life. Ladies, we've had a lot of fun talking about old flames tonight, and it's something that every one of us could be caught on because we all had our youthful romances. We want each of you ladies to have a little memento of the evening, a beautiful bottle of Arpège perfume by Lanvin, and we want Mr. and Mrs. Ross and you and your husband to also have delivered to your homes beautiful Stromberg Carlson 21-inch model television set with a panoramic vision.
Oh, my gosh, ours just broke.
Well, there's nothing finer than a Stromberg Carlson compliment of prom. Goodbye. Good luck. Goodbye. At the beginning of the show, we picked a couple of ladies out of the audience who said they were real eager beaver shoppers. One was single and the other was married. And we sent them up to a China department store of a busy store up near Hollywood and Vine. in order for them each to grab the same vase at the same time, argue about it until the clerk came over, try to decide who was to get it, then drop it, break it, and then argue as to who was going to pay for the broken vase. Let's find out what happened. Bring in the gals. This is the Mrs. Sally Thomas.
That's right.
And this is Dorothy Kay.
That's right.
Now, did everything proceed as we outlined it in the plot?
Yes, up to a certain point.
You argued about the vase.
Yes, we did. We had quite a little tussle there for a while.
Did the clerk decide which one of the two of you should have the vase before you broke it?
Well, they weren't paying much attention. The store was very crowded, and she was waiting on someone else. But when we dropped the vase, believe me, everybody stared at us. We made such a noise and such a racket.
Oh, it was a woman clerk.
Yes, it was.
Oh, I thought
She
maybe...
asked us to pay for it, and we looked in our bags, and our wallets were gone. I thought I was robbed.
And what did you say?
Oh, I said I leave my coat as a deposit there.
Your coat?
That's right.
She was so amazed she didn't know what to do. So she finally said, well, now, girls, you just have to pay for it. I don't care. She said, you just have to pay for it. I said, well, all right, then we'll just have to split the cost between us. So we looked in our wallet. We both ransacked the whole wallet. No money.
So then what did she
I'm
do?
willing to leave our coats as a deposit.
Well, about that time, Irv Atkins probably rescued you, came in, and let's meet the clerk. Would you move over just a little? And, woo! Anybody to go up and break a vase with me tonight? How do you do?
You do.
Who are you?
Greta Karakasheva.
Would you play that over again, lower speed? Greta who?
Greta Karakasheva.
What kind of a name is that?
Bulgarian.
And you're a clerk where?
Patsy's of Hollywood, 1525 North Vine.
Well, we want to give you a good plug because we invaded your privacy tonight by sending these two people up. What did you think when you came over? Did this ever happen before?
Well, we've had a lot of people break a lot of things in our store, but they seem awfully sensitive or nervous, and I thought, well, maybe it might be, something mental or something.
Well, it could be. I just met them myself tonight, I can't be responsible. And then when they had no money...
No, I didn't see any money, so I tried to figure out how much their clothes were worth. But not selling clothes, I don't know too much about it. But they did agree to leave their coats, and I thought that would be ample.
Well, I tell you, we are going to go up and pay for that vase so you get your commission. Or whatever you get.
Well, the price just went up on the vase.
Well, how do you like that? We'll break all our vases in other stores from now on. What's your name? Betsy?
Greta.
Greta. I don't know how I can ever forget that name. Greta, to remember us by, we'd like to have you take home a beautiful Polaroid land camera that takes pictures in a minute and develops them in 60 seconds. Isn't that nice?
This is really wonderful.
And we'll pay the bill.
Thank you.
And ladies, you were in the good cause of experimental psychology. And tonight, as a result of being on the show, we're going to send each of you for a vacation for 2 each. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You don't know where you're going to be sent. We're going to send you to the Sahara. Not the hotel, the desert. No, we're going to send you to the Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas, fly you up on a big United mainliner DC-7, 365 mile an hour. I'm not going with you. You're going by yourself. Mother of 5 and father of 5 are huddling together here. And thanks very much to both of you. Goodbye. All I gotta say is, Las Vegas, look out. They're gonna turn that whole town upside down. Well, that's all for tonight. Next week, we're sending a contestant out with some astounding news that the end of the world will soon be here. Will people believe him? Will people care? Tune in next week and find out what really happens.
Yes, John Goodell's production of People Are Funny was brought to you by Prom, the self-neutralizing home permanent just made for the new longer hairstyles, and new Viv lipstick, comfortable, long-lasting, and very, very vivid.
From May 10th, 1955, Art Linkletter, People Are Funny on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, thanks to Ted at RadioMemories.com for an episode of Lum and Abner, May 10th, 1935. Bad news about the chain letters.
Howdy, everybody. Here we are, all ready to take you down to Pine Ridge for another visit with Lum and Abner, brought to you by the makers of Horlicks, the original malted milk. And now, let's see what's happening down in Pine Ridge. Well, you know, Lum and Abner have started what they call the Farm Relief Chain Letter. Instead of sending money, everyone who receives one of their letters is supposed to respond by sending a hog. Now they have started a corn chain letter, having everyone send a bushel of corn to feed the 15,000 hogs they hope to receive. Well, yesterday, their first hog arrived from the chain letter. As we look in on Pine Ridge today, we find Lum and Cedric Weehunt down at the Jot 'em Down store. Lum seems to be engrossed in a book just now. Listen.
You ought to get yourself one of these books, too, Cedric.
What's that, Mr. Lum?
Why, it's called The Care and Feeding of Hogs. Tells all about how to cure the cholera and different diseases. Feller gets 15,000 hogs, he's got to know how to take care of them. That cholera break out amongst them, liable to take them all off before you can get them stopped.
Well, I'm getting a little uneasy about me getting any hogs, Mr. Lum. I brung you fellers over one yesterday, and I passed out 5 letters and ain't got back none yet.
Oh, well, you've got to wait till your name gets up to the top of the list. You'll get 'em all right. Here's a couple of days before we start getting ours, you know. Well, sir, I've sat right here and watched folks going by the store here all day long, leading the hogs. I never seen nothing like it.
Oh, I never did neither. There was wagons and buggies lined up there in front of Mr. Abner's house, clean down to the end of the fence a while ago. How come they're taking them all over to his house? I thought you and him was partners on this deal.
Well, we're just leaving them over there temporary till we can get a fence built around some of the land we bought yesterday.
Well, I never seen so many hogs in my life.
Wait a minute, that's our ring. Hello? Did you Jot 'em Down store? Lum Edwards talking. Oh, well, howdy, Charlie. Do what? Oh, why, yeah, I reckon we could spare one. Oh, I don't know, Charlie, about $3 or $4, I reckon. You have? Well, I reckon they're getting pretty scarce for now. Mm-hmm. Well, we're keeping them over at Abner's place temporary. Abner's over there now. Just go over there and tell him I said let you have one. You can just pay him there. Huh? Oh, cheers. Well, it ain't no use for you to carry it clean over to your place and then have to carry it back again. No, if you're getting a hog to give to us, why, just drop by there and point out the one you want to give us and just leave the money. Yeah, it'll save you a lot of bother. All right, Charlie. Oh, not at all, not at all. Glad to help you. Goodbye. Granny, that gives me a good idea. Here we've been worrying about how we was going to get shut of them hogs. Granny, we can just sell them to these folks that's just now getting these chain letters. Charlie Luttrell said he'd looked all over the country trying to buy a hog from somebody.
Yeah, before long, I bound you they'll be bringing a fancy price, all right, scarce as they're getting. We've give away all we had over at the place. Ma and Pa and all us children's every one got one of them chain letters. We give away 11 hogs just the evening.
Yeah, trouble is, see, all the hogs is getting concentrated in one place, don't they? Those fellers that's up at the head of the list are getting a corner on them.
Yonder comes Mr. Abner now.
Where? Yeah, Granny's now. He won't be there when Charlie gets there.
Well, I reckon Charlie will bring the money on down here at the store if there ain't nobody there.
Wait a minute, that's our ring again. No, Cedric, you run over there and wait till Charlie gets there and take the money first. Hello? It's the Jot 'em Down store. Lum Edwards talking. Well, how are you, Bessie? Why, yes, I did. I told him just a while ago we'd let him have one. Why, yes, I guess we could spare another and all right. $3. That's what I told Charlie he could have one for. Oh, any one you want. It don't matter with us. We got so many. Cedric Weehunt will be over there. Just pay him the money and tell him I said let you have one. Cedric, Bessie Gantlin will be over there after a hog in a minute. Now let her have one, too.
Yeah, mind out where you going there, Cedric. You'll run over
Excuse me, Mr. Abner, excuse me. All right, Mr. Lum, I'll just stay over there for a while.
Doggies, Lum, something's got to be did about them
Wait a
hogs.
minute, Abner, wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
All right, Bessie, you can just go over there and pick out any one you want.
Oh.
And if you see anybody else that's wanting to buy one, why, tell them we've got plenty and we'd be glad to sell them. All right. Oh, you're welcome. Don't mention it. Goodbye. Granny's, Abner, I got an idea now that is an idea.
Yeah, I got one, too.
We's worrying about where we's going to sell them hogs. Why, Granny's, we'll just sell them out to these folks that's just now getting these chain letters. Hogs is getting scarce around here.
Yeah, they're getting scarce everywhere except over at my place. And I never seen so many hogs in my life.
Well, fine. We're getting them, are we?
Why, it looks like a picnic ground over there. There'd been a steady stream of folks over there all day long bringing hogs.
Well, I do know.
Yeah, they ain't using no judgment neither.
Huh?
Why, them that's in a hurry, why, they ain't asking me where I want 'em put. They just walk up there and dump 'em over the fence and leave. They're just tearing up the place.
Oh,
They've got in Elizabeth's garden and rooted it all up, and they've got in the barn and bedded up under the house and in the house. Why, there's hogs everywhere you turn, Lum. And Elizabeth just put her foot down, too, said we can't bring another one on the place.
She has?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think this idea of mine will get rid of them pretty fast, Abner. I'll paint a big sign saying, hogs for sale. Get your hogs here. We've got 'em. All that stuff.
Yeah, well, we have.
Then we can just hire Cedric to stay over there and sell 'em when folks comes after 'em.
Well, I've been turning folks down all day. I never knowed we wanted to sell 'em.
Why, sure. We may as well sell 'em. Ain't no use to keep 'em over and have to feed 'em. By the first of the week, we ought to be getting some corn back from them corn chain letters we sent out last night.
Yeah. But the main thing I come over here for, Lum, we've got to figure out some rules.
Some rules?
Yeah, they're running in all sorts of things on us over there. Eli Whitten brung a little pig over there a while ago that weren't 2 weeks old.
Well, that letter says hogs.
That's what I told him, but he said he'd look the whole county over, and that's the nearest he could come to find one.
Well, from here out, you can just sell 'em one of them we've got over there.
And Luke Spears, that crazy idiot, he couldn't find a hog, so he went down to the butcher shop and come over a while ago with 2 hams and 2 shoulders and some backbone and spare ribs and some sausage and head cheese and a jar of Pickles pig feet. Said that weren't a live hog, but that it was all there.
Well, for goodness sake, bound for him.
Yeah.
Well, us selling 'em will put a stop to all that. I've done sold, too.
2?
Yeah, Charlie Luttrell and Bessie Gatlin will both be over after one. I told 'em just pick out any one they wanted for $3.
Yeah, well, I better get back over there then, Lum, for I know that Charlie Luttrell. He'll about pick out the biggest one we've got over there.
Well, don't matter none about the one he picks out, for our name's on top of the list of the letter he got, so he'll give it right back to us, you know.
Oh, well, that's different. Man, I hope he picks out that big Poland China we got if he's going to give it back to us. He's an extra.
Well, it don't make no difference. Just let him pick out any one he wants to.
You mean let him pick out one of them little runts and give us?
Abner, he ain't even going to take it away from the place over there. He's just going to point out the one he wants and hand you $3. So what difference does it make?
Well, none, except just left to get as good a one as we could out of the deal.
Now, don't you go over there and get in no argument with Charlie. Things is running too nice now. Granny, we're going to have more hogs and money, and we'll know what to do with here in a few days.
Yeah, special hogs. Swan, I never would have believed there was that many, Lum. I don't know how many we've got now, but it looks like we've got a heap more than 15,000 over there. Don't reckon nobody's been slipping some in on us, do you?
Slipping some in on us?
Yeah, bringing us 2 instead of 1.
Oh, for goodness sake, of course not.
Well, I've been watching them pretty close, but only trouble I don't know who all the letters are sent to, and I just have to take their word for it.
Well, there comes Dick Huddleston, young.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. As far as I know, Dick's the only one in the whole community here that ain't taking no part in this chain letter business.
Yeah, Dick's awful old-timey, Lum. Backwards about taking up newfangled ideas this way.
It's a shame, nice a feller as he is. All has been about the best fix financial as every feller in town till this thing started.
Yes, he has.
Now he won't have nothing compared to the rest of us when it's all over.
Yeah, I bound you he'll have his regrets over it, too.
Yeah. He'll be coming around here in a few days saying, Lum, I wished I'd have listened to you. You know, I tried to get him to let me send him a letter, and he wouldn't take it.
Yeah. Well, howdy, Dick.
Yeah, come in, Dick, come in.
Well, howdy, fellas. Say, Ezra Seastrunk must be at the top of the list now. I come by his place just now, and there must have been 100 people standing around there with hogs to give him.
Oh, well, it's taken the community by storm. I never seen nothing like it.
Everybody you see has got a hog taking it to somebody.
Yeah.
And letters, that little post office of mine down there is just swamped with them.
Well, I do know.
Now, that's what I come over to see you fellas about, too. Who started this hog chain letter, anyway?
Why, me and Abner did. Yes, sir. We're responsible for all this excitement.
Yeah, we started another chain letter last night, having everybody send a bushel of corn to one another, too.
Yeah. See, that way everybody will get feed for their hogs.
Well, I hate to say it, fellas, but I'm just afraid that somebody's liable to get in some trouble over this.
Trouble?
Yes, I had a letter from the post office authority in Washington, asking all the postmasters to make an investigation, and if they can find out who's been starting these chain letters around over the country, why, they're going to prosecute them for using the mails to defraud.
Well, we're afraid our old friends have started something now that they can't stop. This is Carlton Brickert, speaking for Lum and Abner and Horlicks, who now bid you all good night and good health.
May 10th, 1935, Lum and Abner here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows, learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. Contact me, find our social media links, and you can buy me a copy to help us acquire additional classic radio shows and help us maintain our distribution channels. That's all at classicradio.stream. Thank this station, support their advertisers, tell a friend the greatest radio shows of all time are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox right here on your favorite radio station.